Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Hello to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. It's time for the news tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Our major stories this evening: road insecurity in the Mongo division. A 20-year-old her car was recently crushed to death by birds in Melong. The lady who got into the birds to sell was struggling to get off the said birds in a hurry when she was crushed about the tires. The DO for Melong has taken stringent measures to prevent such occurrences. We will be taking you to Melong to tell you what really happened in this news edition. Plus, some local authorities in the central region have banned public manifestations of opposition parties. This is coming shortly after thousands or hundreds of youths marched in support of the CPDM party or the ruling party that was in Marua in the far north region. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Details and more when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. The divisional officer for Melong has cautioned roadside vendors about the activities on National Highway number 5 and the need for identification of each roadside vendor. Biko Bless made that declaration after a 20-year-old lady by name Chop Orally died while stepping out of a bus to sell her goods. Sumaji Gabriel tells us what happened in Melong.
The mother of 20-year-old Chop Mafoti Aurélie Michel in pains. Aurélie died while attempting to jump out from a moving vehicle where she went to sell cassava paste, locally known as bobolo. The driver was at fault because he didn't stop his car for the child to go down. It is true that the child got into the car without alerting the driver, but it was as she wanted to jump out that she died. At the family compound of Aurélie, the divisional officer of Melong, Biko Alain Blurs, consoled the family members of Michelle who were grieving after the sudden loss of their daughter from the deceased compound. The chef there went to the accident scene, which is a popular zone where business is always at its peak. He made his stance known to the road vendors. It is not even normal for you to send children to sell on the highway. The tax of a child is well described. Adult, acceptable. If you don't respect my command, then we shall ensure that only those who obey the rules will continue selling. I have asked that you should organize yourself for us to know who is who, but till date, nothing. According to a roadside vendor, they have always tried to send away little kids who come to the road, but their parents are not helping out. We have tried everything to send away the smaller ones out of here, but parents keep sending them. Parents send 10 to 11-year-old to sell. We don't know what they have come to do, because with us here, if you don't have the stamina, you can't do anything. A roadside vendor who has been in the business for more than 40 years says it's because we don't know what else to do. The children also help us here. Unfortunately, when you give instructions to a child, they do something else. The death of Chop Mafoti Aurélie Michel sent shockwaves to both her family and the roadside vendors in Melong, but many are now asking if Michel's death will change the mindset of the people sending children to sell on the highway.
Sad indeed, ends our sincere condolences to the bereaved family. And the killing of baby Mathis, 6-year-old, continues to send shockwaves across the national territory. To various persons, reactions on the 6-year-old Mathis' murder affair keep raining from the political class 5 days after the tragedy happened in Yaoundé. Political leaders such as Professor Maurice Kamto, Honorable Cabral Libi, and Serge Espoir Matomba of the CRM, the PCRN, and PRS parties respectively have condemned such abominable acts, describing it as inhumane, atrocious, and barbaric. They clamor for justice for little Mathis. Innocent Aze compiled those reactions in this report.
So Maurice Kamto, national president of the CRM party, urges the justice system in Cameroon and other competent authorities to take full responsibility of the 6-year-old Mathis murder case and ensure the perpetrator of this tragedy and capital crime pays the full price for murdering an innocent child in cold blood. Professor Maurice Kamto asks that nothing can justify the cold premeditated murder of a kid, while calling for an end of such a horror in Cameroon. The CRN leader extends his sincere heartfelt condolences, solidarity and compassion to the grieving family. According to Kamto, this tragedy, which affects the entire nation, is not just a mere story. It is an emotional shock and an appeal to collective conscience. Honorable Cabral Libi of the PCRN party demands justice for Mathis. On his Facebook page, he writes, "No human being with all his senses can be indifferent from seeking justice for the little boy. The death of any human being is sad enough in itself, that of a child unbearable." Honorable Cabral Libi describes the killing of the 6-year-old child as the height of tragedy. He writes further, I quote, "I bow before the memory of this little angel. I extend my deepest sympathy to his family, whose pain is undoubtedly indescribable." He also appreciates the emotion borne by the young artist, Lidol, following the incidents committed by her dad. Serge Espoir Matomba, first secretary of the Pews Party, on his part writes, "Justice for Mathis, we will not be silent." That he speaks not only as a politician, but an outraged human. No circumstances, no context, no excuse, he says, can justify such atrocious and barbaric acts that offends human conscience, shocks humanity, and tests human fundamental principles of justice and dignity. Serge Espoir Matomba furthers, "No one can accept that such a crime goes unpunished, innocence be crossed without conscience, and for violence to become inevitable. Thus, demands swift and exemplary justice for Mathis." He adds, "The child's family deserves the truth, and the society deserves a strong message against impunity. Everyone must stand up against this injustice. Mathis must not become a mere news story. Mathis must become the symbol of a fight for justice for a Cameroon where human life has inestimable value," stated Serge Espoir Matomba of Pews.
In other news, for over 3 months now, teachers of a private denominational institution, ESEME Primary School Bonamuti here in Akwa City, have been going without being paid after several complaints. They say their efforts yielded no fruit, so they decided to carry out a peaceful demonstration today at the school premises. Mala Glory spoke with some disgruntled teachers of that school.
Nous préférons que l'État prenne les écoles de l'UEBC parce qu'ils ne sont plus à la côté de pouvoir gérer.
Screaming at the top of their voices, calling on the state to take over the management of the school, the teachers of a private denominational school, ESEME Primary School Bonamuti, Akwa, Douala, stormed the school premises this Thursday to protest over several months of unpaid salary, and equally accusing the regional inspector for poor management. We are demanding for the payment of salary arrears. Since his arrival at the helm of the management 4 years ago, the payment of our salary has not been regular. I was notified I will be going on retirement soon, yet nothing is said concerning my retirement benefits. According to the teachers, their several complaints have fallen on deaf ears. We have tried a peaceful dialogue with him in a classroom just to settle the matter, yet we were removed from the forum. This problem has been existing before he came, but we kept nursing hopes for a change. The authorities are completely silent to this problem. Reacting to these accusations, the inspector explained that these complaints from teachers has been existing before he took over the management. When I arrived the head of the management, I discovered they had so many debts. We have to deposit a huge amount of money at the National Insurance Fund to be paying the debts gradually. And again, salaries will increase for teachers without my knowledge, making it difficult to pay the teachers regularly. While part of the teachers were protesting, some carried on with their duty. Meantime, the matter is in the hands of security officials to bring peace and permit a serene environment for teaching.
Now let's talk politics. A recent press release from the divisional officer for Douala subdivision in Cameroon Central region has sparked heated debate and raised concerns about the state of democracy in the country. The DO's decision to ban all political party field activities in the area until the electoral college is convened has drawn mixed reactions from the political class and also civil society actors. For me, Amtron Sanda reports.
The divisional officer's decision to ban all political party field activities in his area of command until the electoral college is convened has drawn mixed reactions from the political class and the civil society in Cameroon. Critics, including Dage Josh and Cotton Prince, will argue that the administrator's reasons for imposing the ban are circumstantial and lack transparency.
Us of the Popular Action Party, we see his decision as unlawful and an abuse of law which undermines democratic processes, thereby restricting political parties from operating in this area freely.
They accuse the divisional officer of attempting to silence Cameroonians, crack down on dissent, and undermine democracy in an electoral year.
To say ban political parties from not holding rallies, for not holding meetings, no, I think that is violation of the law. But to talk about electoral campaigns, yes, because there is a period for that needs to be held. That is why the MP3 political party has been doing all its possible best to stay within the limits of the law.
To Dage Josh, it is unacceptable that the divisional officer will take such a drastic measure without consulting with stakeholders and providing clear justification.
Why take such a decision that can cause conflict in his area? The last time I checked, Douala subdivision does not have any internal insecurity problems, internal conflict. No, the area is plagued with natural disaster.
Cotton Prince will add that this move is a recipe for disaster.
Because if we're talking about elections, we're talking about one of the most important aspects that determines the future of every state. And in the place of Cameroon this year is a very determinant one. It's right when we have a 93-year-old president, or they say 92, whatever.
The controversy has sparked a lively debate about the role of administrative authorities in regulating political activities and the limits of their powers, while some argue that the DO's decision is necessary to maintain law and order. Others see it as an attempt to suppress dissenting voices and undermine the democratic process. As Cameroon goes deeper into this electoral year, the stakes remain high and the actions of administrative authorities closely scrutinized.
Still in politics, since the 2018 presidential election, Cameroon has seen an upsurge in hate speech, misinformation, and also disinformation fueled by complex factors. Meeting in Yaoundé, stakeholders discuss on ways they can combat the rising phenomenon of hate speech. Immaculate Fogwe tells us more.
Cameroon is grappling with a surge in hate speech, misinformation and disinformation since the 2018 presidential election. Civil society actors point to a complex web of factors fueling this trend.
Hate is something that each and every one of us must fight because it destroys the fabric of a society. You know, like what happened in Rwanda when you start calling people cockroaches. In Cameroon, the Sardina, the Tontina, the Bamenda, the Anglophone. These things are ingrained in people's subconscious that the day they have the opportunity to eliminate the other, they will do it.
Barrister Agbobala regrets that the government, particularly the National Communication Council, is sometimes biased when addressing cases of hate speech.
Take, for example, when you have somebody from the ruling party, a minister, clearly make statements which amount to hate speech, nobody sanctions them. But when it's on a panel, on a Equinoxe or other television, private TV, that is not very pro-government, it's easy for them to have the hammer. So government and CNC has to be balanced so that people should understand that hate is something that is not right. But
as the country heads into the October elections, these toxic practices are heightening tensions. In a bid to tackle these issues, the United Nations Center for Human Rights and Democracy convened national consultations in Yaoundé, underscoring the urgency for action.
So this two-day consultation is meant to ensure that we coordinate our efforts and that we don't do one-off activities that do not really bring sustainable impact, but that we know what each actor in the area of misinformation, disinformation is doing, and that we can just add up, leverage the efforts of one another to make sure that we have a strong impact on the ground.
Addressing hate speech, misinformation and disinformation requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders. By implementing proposed solutions and ensuring impartial regulation, Cameroon can work towards a more peaceful and informed electoral process.
Now we treat you to news out of the country. 10 days after the extradition of rebel leader Amel Sayo of Bangui, or to Bangui, to the Central African Republic, the government has finally made an announcement. The leader of the armed group, the military coalition for the salvation of the people, had taken up arms again, that was in 2024, despite the signing of the peace agreement in 2019. More on our foreign page roundup with Cedric Chakutu.
The Central African government has officially responded to the extradition of Amel Sayo, former leader of the military coalition for the salvation of the people armed group and former minister of youth, arrested in January 2025 in Cameroon as he was preparing to travel to France. He was transferred to Bangui in early May after 4 months of detention in Yaoundé. A signatory to the 2019 political agreement for peace and reconciliation, Amel Sayo nevertheless took up arms again in 2024, calling for the overthrow of the current regime. He is now being prosecuted for rebellion and crimes against humanity. Elsewhere in Côte d'Ivoire, Tidjane Thiam was elected as head of the PDCI, the main Ivorian opposition party, in an election in which he was the only candidate 2 days after resigning from this post to run again. Declared the winner with 99.77% of the vote, he indeed regained his position as president of the PDCI at the end of the day. His candidacy for the presidential election next October remains compromised. While the Ivorian court ordered his removal from the electoral roll a few weeks ago, making him ineligible. Faced with these challenges, party officials are doubting between hope and resignation. And in Mauritania, the Nouakchott Court of Appeal took a heavy hand against former Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz, who was sentenced to a 15-year prison and a $3 million fine. He was also stripped of all his civil rights. The former head of state was found guilty of money laundering and illicit enrichment. Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz was initially sentenced to 5 years in prison. He has been in prison since January 2023. At the heart of his troubles is the conflict over the management of the ruling party with his former ally and successor Mohamed Ould Ghazouani.
And that report by Cedric brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Let's now move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is the mayor of the Kumba 1 municipality, ESEME Moses. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for accepting to be our guest tonight. You are the mayor of one of the municipalities of the cosmopolitan town, Kumba, in the southwest region. We know Kumba is also considered as a melting pot because it's surrounded by several other towns and villages besides being the commercial capital of the southwest region. Now, Mr. Mayor, ESEME Moses, what is life like in Kumba as we speak despite all odds?
Kumba 1 municipality, like other municipalities, was affected seriously. We had this influx of persons who are IDPs from rural areas. You know, we have Kumba 1 municipality as a junction municipality, because it's a municipality that persons from Fako going to Manfe, Manu area, persons from Fako going to the Kupe Maniguma area, or persons from whichever direction going to Njian, all have to pass through Kumba 1 municipality to find themselves where they are supposed to go. So this municipality has hosted too many IDPs over the years, and with the influx of IDPs, we have had this challenge of having to take care of all of these persons whom we have been accommodating. We have had the difficulty of providing, adequate, good potable water, drinking water for them to consume. We have had even the situation of the standards of living, and we have been grappling with that over the years with the assistance of government and government agencies, with the assistance of NGOs. In fact, we have been able to tackle to arrest the situation, and I think the municipality is breathing now very well.
Now let's talk about insecurity in Kumba. We know that Kumba has also been a hotspot. What's the security situation there? Is everything under control?
We have had very serious issues with security. Security has been a very challenging one, but even with the seriousness of the Ambazonian crisis, we, the authorities of Kumba, thanks to the wisdom of the senior divisional officer who has been at the helm of management of the forces of law and order and the military, to make sure that no stone is left unturned for this whole challenge of insecurity to get out of our municipality. So Kumba 1, Kumba 2, Kumba 3 are all very, very safe because of the wisdom exhibited by the senior divisional officer and other collaborators.
Now, what about the local population? Let's talk about them, because they are the suffering masses. How have they been responding and coping with all the security challenges you mentioned?
And I want to mention that, in fact, the population has been so wonderful, because at some point we had to come to terms with the fact that without the population we cannot effectively arrest the whole situation. And so we had the cooperation of the population, and this has helped us over the years to completely bury this whole issue of Ambazonian crisis. So the municipality is very safe, and it is an enabling one now for all projects, all developmental projects to come and to be effectively implemented without any disturbance.
Now, Mr. ESEME Moses, what about assistance from other public authorities besides the SCO for the Meme? How has Yaoundé been collaborative with the Kumba 1 Council?
In fact, we have had a lot of intervention from even the state in areas of getting the population involved in developmental ventures of the council. We saw the creation of neighborhood and village committees. This is done on the instructions of the Minister of Decentralization, which is just an implementation of a provision of the 2019 law on decentralization, which says that the councils can be assisted in their work by village or neighborhood committees. And so the instrument that was done by the Minister of Decentralization only now gave or saw to fruition this whole provision of the law, and now the council is heavily assisted. All of the projects that we do in the various neighborhoods are at least monitored by the people who are the end beneficiaries of the project. So even our council sessions and the instruments that we analyze during our council sessions are all obliged to the various neighborhood committees so that they can effectively follow up and identify themselves with the activities of the council.
We will want you to tell us a little more about project management with regards to project execution in the midst of these security threats. How can the local population be involved in proper execution of projects in Kumba 1?
I have a message to give to the population. This message is that these committees that have been put in place, who are well empowered, they should consider themselves the watchdogs of the people. And we want the people to be involved at all levels of execution of our projects. We are saying this because there are some complaints that come from some quarters. They complain about the poor execution of certain projects that take place in their various quarters. What I have to say is that these people are the only ones who can come out to make sure that their work is done properly, because if that work, that particular project is not sustained, they will blame themselves. And it's really not easy for certain projects to come to the quarter. So when you are lucky that the mayor and his team have at least earmarked your quarter for a certain project, make sure that whoever is charged with the implementation, the execution of that project, does it according to the specifications of the contract that the person has with the council. And so that is my advice to the population. And I want to pass a last message to the population again, asking that they should know that the development of the municipality can never be left in the hands of the council alone. We must know that in terms of hygiene and sanitation, it begins in our neighborhoods. The council sometimes can always come to assist by providing work tools, assist by giving incentives to the people so that they can keep their environments clean. So they say cleanliness is next to godliness. So that is my message to the population. And if we work as such and with the framework of collaboration in place, we are all going to smile, either by way of projects that will come to our quarters and well executed, and we'll see how the standard of living too will keep improving.
Now, Mr. Mayor, before you go, let's talk about cost of living in Kumba. Within the war, you were elected by the local population, and you know a greater part of those who live in Kumba rely mostly on agriculture. Now they can hardly go to the farms. What strategies have you put in place to reduce the high cost of living in Kumba at the moment?
We have had this very poor or high standard a cost of living, which the people have suffered from over the years. In Kumba, generally, I imagine that people have been buying a bag of rice, 50,000, 45,000, 49, 50,000. I think this is too much for an average man to afford. But because of these complaints, these too many complaints, we have been complaining to the Minister of Commerce about it, and recently our cry was heard. We have the company that came to Kumba thanks to partnership between Island of Peace, which is the company, and the Ministry of Commerce. This company has created their office in Kumba, and they look forward to creating other warehouses in the same Kumba. Their prices are so affordable. Their goods are all affordable. So we are encouraging the population to go and buy. Those who are buying to go and sell, and even those who are buying to use them domestically, we are encouraging people to go to Island of Peace, which warehouse is situated opposite Woodland Hill Motel, Bongeru, Kumba. They should go there and get their products. Get their products, rice, tomatoes, spaghetti, soap, laundry soap, and all other household goods that you may want to get from the market. So people should go there and buy. Don't wait for others to go and buy there and come and sell to you, because you will fall prey to the same situation that we have had before the coming of the Island of Peace to number 1 municipality.
ESEME Moses, Mayor of the Kumba 1 municipality of the Southwest region, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest tonight on the news, and hope to have you some other time. Viewers, thank you so much for being with us. That was what we put together for you this evening on the news on Equinoxe Television at 6 p.m. Our programs continue. Equinoxe Soir comes up in about 30 minutes, and the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now, and see you again tomorrow. Same time, God willing.